Alright. I think it should be starting now. Okay, anyway. Hi everyone, this is Alfred once again from Nerd of Passion, and welcome to another live stream lecture. Okay, so for today's lecture, my topic will be on principles of effective study, where I'll be focusing on the principles that really separates the average students and the high achieving students. Now, because ever since I've started tutoring, and actually ever since I was a student back in high school, I've always wondered like what exactly is the difference between like the average students and the really high achieving one that everyone seems to be in all ways, just like the ones where they achieve success themselves, they do really well in school, and it seems like they're having a really like a very easy time in school. But so after tutoring for quite a while, I think I've narrowed it down to just a few underlying principles that really separate those two. So if you really understand those principles and start incorporating them into your study habit, it will really help you in your studies, and you'll start to see a very big improvements as well. So of course for this lecture, you can download the lecture handout down in the video description down below. So let me just get started. So I'll just fire up the PowerPoint slides right here. Okay, I'll put myself nice in the corner. Bring up the screen right here. Alright, perfect. Alright, let us begin. Okay, so today's lecture will be on principles of effective studying, where I'll be focusing on the principles, the underlying beliefs and the underlying habit that really makes the difference between those average students and the high achieving students. Okay, so for today, I will not be talking about like the best study method, or like the quick fix to in order to do well, do these things and then you immediately do well in your study. This is not what I'm looking for, and actually I believe that there is no such thing as the best study method, because different people, everyone is different, and different things work for different people. But the thing is, the underlying principle, they all lie the same. Because I've been tutoring for a while already, these are some of the things that I've noticed in students, that separates the high achieving one and the not so good ones. So let me begin. So I'll just begin by talking about the two fundamental principles. So these are the two principles that I believe is the most important thing in order to achieve academic excellence. If you want to do well in school and pretty much in life, it all boils down to these two fundamental principles. So one is studying is meant to be difficult. Alright, so if you're looking, so if you are here to trying to see, so is there any easy way to do really well in studies? The bad news is that's not what I'm going for. Studying should be difficult, and actually that is what makes studying really fun and rewarding as well. And secondly, take charge of your own learning. So take charge of your own learning. So what this means, this is your own education, so your own learning, this is your future, this is your career. So you take charge of it, you make your own decisions, right? Okay, so let's have a look at the first one. So embrace difficulties. So in other words, studying is meant to be difficult. So very often when it comes to studying, we have a tendency to avoid difficulties, which is ironic, because in order to really do well, we need to continuously improve. We need to continuously strive to push our limits and to really understand what is going on, and to really absorb and to really understand the knowledge and understand the concepts that is being taught to us. Okay, but the thing is easier said than done, because improvement is not easy, because you encounter a lot of frustrations, you encounter a lot of confusion, you encounter a lot of heartbreaks, because you spend hours trying to figure something out, and then it didn't work out, and then you feel like an idiot. Okay, so that is very unpleasant. But the thing is, that is what difficulties is what that really pushes us to improve. And also very often when it comes to studying, we want easy way outs. Imagine if there is a pill. Say you take this pill and then you become smarter. Now, I think different people will have different opinions on this. But for me, I will never take such a pill. Because for me, I rather put in my best effort and then do the best I can, and then really improve from there, rather than artificially, taking some drugs to become smarter. And of course, we also have a tendency to get comfortable, doing the things that we are very familiar with. Say for example, when you do math, there's a tendency for teachers and for students to just do the same types of problem over and over and over and over again, rather than now you're able to do this problem. Okay, now let's look at the more difficult one. Right, so now you're able to do more difficult. Okay, now let's look at something even more difficult. So you keep pushing on the difficulty and keep increasing up from there. Okay, so what happens when we start to avoid difficulties too much is we have a tendency to feel like study gets very boring. It gets very repetitive. I'm pretty sure you find it a lot in school. Say you're required to do like 10 math problems of the same type. So I mean, maybe the first 2 is pretty challenging, you manage to get past them. But for the remaining 8, it gets really dry. It's like, oh man, I already know how to do this. Like, why do I have to do this? And so what happens is study, like going to school, studying becomes very boring, becomes very repetitive. And despite like doing the best you can, you did all the homework, you did what the teacher told you to do, but ended up you still get a mediocre grade. So what really makes the difference over here is like embracing the difficulties. Okay, so for the first principle, there is just one key takeaway message that I want you guys to just remember this. Is that difficulties is not a bad thing, and difficulties is what pushes us to improve. So whenever you are encountering difficulty, just jump in there, confront it head on, and just keep dealing with it. It's much better to just jump in there, get all confused, get all frustrated, and rather than run away from it and then just stay doing the things that you already know how to do. So this is a very classic success advice, stepping out of your comfort zone. So that is kind of like what my first principle is all about. Push out of your comfort zone, keep doing difficult things, keep increasing the difficulties. Okay, so I'll just give you an analogy on this idea of like studying is meant to be difficult. Okay, so now imagine you want to get ripped. So say you are a bit overweight, or you are very skinny like me, and you want to get a bit of like muscles to impress the ladies. Or say you are a girl and then you want to get like a good shape to impress the guys. Say for example, you want to go from the one on the left to the one on the right. Okay, so how will you go about doing this? I mean, I'm pretty sure any like fitness trainer will definitely agree with me on this. I mean, you don't really need like specialized knowledge. Okay, so first of all, in order to start getting fit, we need to start doing exercises. And of course, to begin with, we need to start doing like very light exercises, like because you don't really want to kill yourself like by doing like a very intense exercise and then your body aches for like 1 week. And so to start off with, you start doing very light exercises. Say maybe you try to do 10 push-ups, or maybe you try to run 1 kilometer. Okay, so when you start doing that, your body gets more strong. So it starts feeling a bit easier. So when it starts feeling a bit easier, so what do? That is when you make things a bit more difficult. So your workout becomes more intense. So that is when you're able to run 1 kilometer. So now you push yourself to run 2 kilometers. You're able to do 10 push-ups. So now try to do 20 push-ups, or do even more crazy push-up like power push-ups. The one where you push up and then you clap up there. And so by doing that, you are making things difficult. So your workout gets more and more challenging. And so here's an example, like a 30-day challenge. Just Google that up, and then if you're looking to get fit, I definitely recommend trying to do the 30-day fitness challenge. I think I did one last year, and yeah, we got pretty fit because of that. But so you can see from day one, so you do very light exercises like 10 sit-ups, 10 crunches, and then 20 squats. I mean, for someone that have never exercised ever, might sound a bit challenging, but still can be overcome. So so you go in there, you do them, you become a little bit stronger. Then next and day 2, it gets a bit more intense, and then day 3, day 4, day 5, the intensity just keeps on increasing and increasing until you reach day 30, where you are doing 40 sit-ups, 100 crunches, and 100 squats, which is, I mean, it's pretty impressive. You'll be able to do so much in one go. Okay, so the same idea applies to studying as well. So in order to improve in studying, keep pushing yourself to do more difficult things. Say you're able to solve equations. So the next step is to try to tackle worded problems, extended response problems. So once you get it down, learn a new concept, maybe like trigonometry or like calculus or something. So learn that, get it down, push on, and then keep learning difficult things. So constantly, giving yourself challenges, constantly push the limits of your knowledge. and constantly give yourself more difficult things to do. And of course, don't overdo this. Of course, don't give yourself things that are way too difficult. Like when that happens, you're not able to do them, and then you feel very bad about it. This actually, psychologically speaking, is a very important idea called the flow state. Because by overcoming challenges that is very well matched to our ability, it gets us into a flow state, and and then it feels really good because you feel like you're making a lot of progress. You're really getting on top of things, and you're getting a lot better. Right. Okay. So here are some tips to make studying difficult. And actually, it's kind of funny when I was preparing the PowerPoint slides. I realized like how to make studying difficult is such a it kind of sounds like a bad advice. It's like shouldn't we make studying like easier? No, we should make studying more difficult. Because of what psychologists have found that by making studying more difficult, it makes the learning a lot more durable and a lot stronger. It's because now we need to put in the effort to really understand all the stuff. And so here are some tips that I use them a lot in my everyday study life, and also for you to try out to make studying a bit more challenging. Okay, so the first one is attempt problems before looking at solutions. Okay, so this one is a pretty obvious one. So say you're given a problem. Okay, so what many students have a tendency to do is that, okay, so if they don't know how to do it, instead of trying to rack their brains trying to work out the solution or at least attempt at it, they just look at the solution and they try to memorize the solution and hoping that, okay, so next time they should see something similar and then they should be able to apply the same solution to the other problem. Unfortunately, that is a very ineffective way to go about doing it. It's a lot better to jump in there, get all confused, get all totally lost, rather than just short circuit and just jumping through and just look at the solution. So which is why don't be afraid to make mistakes. So you can see like my working over there, I realized I made a very silly mistake. So like the big red circle. So don't be afraid of all the crosses and all the red circles. They are there to feedback to tell you where you went wrong, and you can go in there and fix them up. Okay, so next, continuously learn new things, and also simultaneously also revise the old things as well. Okay, because very often when it comes to studying, we have a tendency, okay, so once we've studied this, it's like we just want to stay there and then we just want to keep repeating the same thing again and again, which is a bad idea. So, continuously learn new things. And actually that is what makes studying a lot more fun, because, you never know what you're going to learn, say, in the future. So you keep learning new things, and then you keep getting like fascinated by new things over and over and over again. So if anyone says like math is boring, or studying school is so boring, usually they're not doing it properly, because there's so much more to learn, and you can just go out there and explore so much more. And of course, don't just keep learning new things. You also need to revise the old things that you have learned as well, so that you make sure everything is all connected nicely together. Right. Okay, so skip easy questions and just do the hard ones. Okay, so I think this advice usually go against what teachers want students to do sometimes. Because for me, if I find a problem too easy, or if I already know how to do it, usually I'll just skip that and just skip that, do the harder ones. But so whenever you are working on the math problem and you find that you already know how to do it, or it's like way too easy, just skip that. Work on the hard one. Work on the ones where you really have to rack your brains and really figure things out. Easy ones, you only do them only if you're required to. So this advice, please don't take this to the exam. Don't just say the exam is easy, I'm not going to do it, and then you're not going to get a mark. Right. Okay, so for this one, skip them if when you're practicing at home. But unless there's an assignment that you have to submit, or in exam, of course you have to do the easy questions. But for practice, just do the hard ones. Skip the easy ones, and do more closed book study. So what I mean is, let's say when you try to attempt problems, don't have a book right next to you. Try to recall the concepts. Try to work through the solutions all by yourself. So by doing that way, you're forced to really dig deep into your head, and then try to figure out how things work, rather than just say. Also say you do a physics problem and then you forgot what is conservation of momentum, and then you just grab a physics textbook open and then look for conservation of momentum. It's a lot better to just sit there and really think, oh yeah, I remember I should use some conservation of something. Alright, conservation of energy? Nope. I think it should be momentum, and then momentum. So what's the equation? And then PR equal to PF sounds about right, So that right there, even though it feels slow, but that right there, like trying to like dig into your mind and try to find a concept, that is what makes the learning a lot more robust. And then especially during like let's say exams or like in more viewer situations, you can't really have the textbook with you all the time. So what you do is you rely more on your understanding to solve the problem on the spot. And ultimately that is what exams they are really testing out for. It's like if I throw you any problem, you should be able to tackle them by yourself. And also in real because real world problems get very messy. So it relies a lot on your understanding to try to figure out a solution. It happens a lot to me when I'm studying physics, because a lot of time I've encountered problems that are very difficult and not very straightforward. So I really need to dig deep into my head and really try to figure things out, like put all the pieces slowly together until I obtain the solution. So it's not surprising to see me like one physics problem takes me like 4 pages to finally to figure it out. And finally, okay, so think about the concepts. Okay, so what I mean is when you learn a concept, don't just accept it. Learn about it and think about them. Say for example, you learn about algebra. Okay, so don't just learn how to do it and then just yep, I got the questions right and then that's pretty much it. And actually take a minute and think about what is going on with algebra. Things like, oh yeah, I mean what is the underlying structure? Like what is the underlying principle behind those things? Like why can I do this? Why can't I do that? So by doing that, you're seeking to understand what you're learning deeper. So you're kind of like taking an idea, tearing it apart and really examining the pieces within it. So doing so definitely make things a lot more challenging. It's because it's not that clear cut what is going on anymore. It's not like the teacher say, okay, so algebra, you do this, and then you just, okay, yep, and then that's pretty much it. But when you really think about the concept, that is when you really connect the ideas, connect the knowledge that you have already learned, and that is where you also try to, like piece things together all by yourself and really understand what is going on. And that understanding is what really stays with you, after 10 years, even after you leave school. And that knowledge, understanding right there is the one where it really cultivates your problem solving ability in the future. And also your learning skill, because in the future, if I'm able to solve problems like that, in the future, no matter what you learn, you also be able to learn it really well. And this is why learning about cultivating study skills is such a powerful skill to learn, because if you're able to learn anything, you can be good at pretty much anything you want. All you need is time, commitment, and motivation. But I'll save that for maybe some other lectures in the future. So now let's look at the second principle, which is taking charge of your own learning. So what I mean by take charge of your own learning is this: take full responsibility of your own education. Because like I said, when you go to school, this is your education, your learning, your life, your career. So it's best if you take charge of it and don't just simply follow what other people tell you to do. Okay, so by doing so, you're becoming an independent learner, a self-directed learner. Because ultimately, it is these independent, self-directed learners, they are the one that is going to learn all the knowledge, use that knowledge to themselves, and then use that knowledge to achieve their ambitions. Okay, so instead of just simply following what other people tell you to do, say for example, your parents want you to be a doctor or maybe a businessman, or they want you to do something, or teachers they insist on you just following what they do and following their method. Actually, back when I was in Singapore, I was studying in a junior college or equivalent to Australian high school. I had a lot of trouble with the math teachers because I learned math, from different books. So the methods that I use is a bit different from the methods that that my math teacher she used. So we had a lot of disagreement, and then she wasn't too happy with what I'm doing sometimes. But that's the thing, I prefer to do it on my way, because these are all the other books I've done research. I've studied them all by myself. So I prefer to use them, and there is nothing wrong with my methods. Okay, so instead of just following what other people tell you to do, so you have your own ambitions and you have your own way to get there. And even if you don't know of how to get there, you figure it out by yourself. I mean, when I say I want to be a physicist, it's not like I know how to be a physicist. Along the way, I had to figure out the next steps for me to take. So I figured out, okay, so to be a physicist, I want to go to uni and I'm going to major in physics. So I went there and then okay, so now I'm nearing my the end of my bachelor degree. So now I have to figure out, okay, so what is my next step? Should I do a master's? Should I do full time or part time, or should I do some research? What kind of research should I do? Should I do theoretical, experimental, or all the other things? Okay, so all that I have to figure it out along the way. So, but the thing is, I'm figuring this out all by myself. I don't really listen to I don't really follow what other people just tell me or what to do, because like I said, this is my life, this is my future, my ambition, and my passion. So I will do everything I can in my power to achieve it. Right. Okay. So the thing about the thing about the education system is that sometimes they tend to be a bit too prescriptive. They want everyone to be the same. That's why a very common criticism when it comes to any education system is that they are too prescriptive. They are too they kills creativity. It doesn't really suit everyone, because the thing is everyone is different. Everyone, they have their own ambitions, they have their own talents, they have their own desires, they have their own goals. That is why it's good to try to distance yourself from the education system, be independent, and take your own path no matter how hard it takes. So everyone is different, so you got to figure out what you want and what and how to get there. So when I'm saying this, I'm not encouraging people to start stop going to school, stop rebelling against teacher or rebelling against the education system. Even though there is even though education system definitely there is a lot of room of improvement, but the thing is I'm not saying that teachers, they are useless. Actually it's the other way around. Actually, I have high respect for teachers. I have high respect for what they do, and for them helping students and teaching them the knowledge. So you might wonder how does teacher fit into the equation of things? How do you be an independent learner and still go to school and learn things? To me, the best teachers, they are the one that they serve as a guide to students. They don't really force the students to do things. Rather, they guide the students. They say, so I know. So here's what you're going to learn, and here are some of the things that you can do with the knowledge. So they serve as a guide, and of course the go-to for advice. So advice is not telling you, giving you orders. It's more here's an idea for you to take the next step, or maybe here are some possibilities for you to for you to make progress. Usually these are the best kind of teachers that I find. Is they understand the student's goal, or if the student don't have goal, they do everything they can to help the student to find out what their goals are in the future, rather than those authoritarian teachers that demand the students to listen to them all the time. Right. Being an independent learner, it's not necessarily easy. Sometimes it can be very, very difficult. So the reason for that is because sometimes you have to stray off from the conventional path. So let's say the conventional path, say I want to be a scientist, So when I want to be a scientist, I want to go to high school, I want to go to university. Okay, but the thing is, my parents, they want me to take a more stable jobs, So they want to be they wanted me to be a teacher or a lawyer, or say, I don't know, a businessman or something more stable. But so to them that is the conventional path. It's they have bad. The good intention in their mind, but not. But they are going to work against what I really want to do. Okay, so being an independent learner sometimes might be difficult, and you're going to encounter a lot of resistance. People around you will doubt whether you are going to do it or not. But you're good. But so which is why it takes a lot of courage and faith to really maintain the independence when it comes to study. And if you stay true to your path, I'm not discouraging you, but this is there's a bright side to this, a really, really bright side that far outweighs the difficulty you're going to face. And actually, the good thing is that by being an independent learner, you are also practicing the first principle that I mentioned just now. That studying should not be easy. It should be difficult. And being an independent learner is not easy. It is very difficult. So you're kind of so these two principles, they're kind of you're doing them all together. So by being an independent learner and staying true to your path, and that is only where you know you can achieve the dream that you want that you want to be. That you can achieve your ambition, not other people's ambition, and that is where you know you can get a lot of satisfaction out of your educational and career path in the future. So okay, so which is why when I tutor, I really encourage my students to you know be as independent as possible. So which is why if I teach like a math method and they show me a different method, usually that is when I get really impressed. That is when I actually get really happy. It's like oh oh my god, this student actually you know like they have done their own research, they figure out things by themselves. So my job as a tutor is usually just you know like encourage them to be more independent and you know, get them to you know like study more on their own as well. Actually, when you think of it, it's kind of funny. I mean, being a tutor, in order to kind of stay employed as a tutor, I need students to keep seeing me. But actually, what I'm doing is I'm trying to encourage my students to be as independent as possible. So ideally, they do really need me anymore. And usually, when students after they have kind of if they are able to stand on their own feet and they don't need me anymore, actually that is when I'm really happy. It's like, yep, you're good to go. You know, I've succeeded my job as a tutor, and you're good to go. So, yep. So that is really satisfying for me. Okay, so now here are some tips for you to cultivate independence. So, how do you become an independent learner? So the first tip is think about your ambitions. I mean, like I said, everyone is different. Everyone have their own unique ambitions. Actually, that is a beautiful thing. I mean, everyone is a unique in our own ways. I mean, I've tutored many students, and many of them, you know, they have many different ambitions, and I've really enjoyed doing that. And you know, like doing the best I can to help them achieve their ambitions. And okay, so if you don't have an ambition, or you know, if you are like really used to having you know your parents or teachers telling you what to do. Okay, so don't worry. Like really take some time and really think for yourself and think about you know what you really want out of life. So like what do you really enjoy doing? Like what do you want to do if your parents weren't there to tell you or what to do? Okay, so if you don't know what your ambitions are, I would say you know experiment around with different things. I mean back then I played around with many different things. I tried art, I tried cooking, I tried writing, but all those it didn't really click on with me until I do science and I realized, oh my god, I love science. Okay, so your passion is out there to be discovered. So you got to go out there, experiment with different things, and then try to find something that you that you really like. You know, something that really resonates with you, something that you want to do for the rest of your life. Okay, so and secondly, okay, so assess your current level. So be realistic with yourself. So say currently where are you at? Say for example, if you're having a tough time in school, you're doing very badly. Okay, so distance yourself. Might be a good idea to distance yourself away from the school if you find school a bit too discouraging. Okay, so got to assess your current level. Be realistic, and that is when you know you got to set goals. So think of ways to improve and to make progress and also and also you know set action plans. Say for example, I'm going to study 2 hours a day for the next two weeks, for example. And of course, you got to apply them as well. I mean, setting plan is one thing, applying them is another thing. Okay, so to become an independent learner, a good way to really do it is, of course, you know, like learn ahead of the syllabus. Say the school is doing like this particular chapter, so on yourself, you know, you learn ahead of the school. Or sometimes teachers they discourage doing that to avoid confusion, or they don't want students to learn that far. And then, yeah, I mean, actually for me, I encourage doing that. So it's better to learn ahead of the syllabus because when you do that, when the class finally gets that, you're already familiar with the stuff, and and also it also cultivates the independent your learning ability because you're able to learn things on your own. Also, not only that, and also learn outside of the syllabus. You know, like try to learn a bit more. So say math, and then you learn things that are not really taught in schools. So say like for example some calculus things like you know trapezoid rule in integration, or maybe like Poisson distribution in probability. I mean all these things are there. I don't really learn them in school, but you know I learn them basically on my own, and I really enjoy learning them. And of course, learn outside of the classroom. When it comes to learning, try to you know. I'm pretty sure everyone have a passion outside of classroom. It could be sports, it could be like martial arts, it could be like arts, it could be like dancing, or it could be pretty much anything outside of the classroom. And do it because of passion. Like actually what you find is that when you are doing it purely because of passion, that is when you actually learn things very, 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 very well, rather than just doing it just because of the grades. Because the thing is that when we are really passionate about something and we are really curious about something, that is when our mind really absorbs all the knowledge and everything will just flood in right there and we remember like almost every detail of it. And this will also give you a feeling that if you can take some of that passion, some of that feeling, and apply it to your daily life in school, you'll find that you'll learn a lot better as well, and you start to enjoy school a lot better. And of course, finally, do be afraid to be special, and do be afraid to be different from everyone else, and be proud of your dreams. So no matter what dreams you have, I'll be proud of it. I mean, if you want to be an engineer, I mean, go for it. If you want to be an artist, you want to draw like very nice paintings, go for it. If you want to be a musician, I mean, go for it. This is your dream. Be proud of it and keep working on it, despite what other people will tell you to do. Because what I find is that no matter what dreams you have, definitely there will be some people out there that will try to resist you, and they will try to oppose you. So sometimes you got to learn how to kind of tune out that negative voice and keep pushing forwards in your ambition and with your dreams. Okay, so now that is pretty much what I want to cover in the two of what I think is the most important principle when it comes to studying. Okay, so I'll just recap them like one more time so that I really drill them down into your head, and so that you can remember those two. Okay, so remember, one, studying is meant to be difficult. So whenever you find studying a bit too easy, that is when you're doing it wrong. Make it more difficult and push up the difficulty. Because only when we overcome difficulty, only when we tackle difficult things, that is only when we really improve. And secondly, take charge of your own learning, because this is your education, your future, your career. It's you be in charge of it. Don't let other people knock you down, or don't let other people kind of like pave the way for you. Okay, so by incorporating these two principles, that is when we really that is when we actually start cultivating the enjoyment in studying, and also that is when we actually like really get better with study, and we genuinely like improve, and then we get better. Okay, so of course, I mean, these two principles, I mean, understanding them is one thing. Though they will only make a difference only if you start to incorporate them and apply them to your everyday study habits. So what I want you to do is also look at the two principles and think about some ways you can incorporate them into your study routine. Say for example, like the first principle, studying should meant to be difficult. So you can say, okay, so next time when you do math, challenge yourself not to use the calculator, or maybe you can try to do things like, okay, so I'll jump around the topics. That's actually a pretty good one. So you can be creative with it, and of course don't overdo it. I mean, don't overdo it. Things like I'm going to try to learn math in a foreign language, or I'll try to do physics while driving a car. I mean that is a bad idea. So you also need to kind of use your common sense with that as well. So now that you figure out like some ways to incorporate these two principles, so the next bit is spend a week or two proactively by doing them. Proactively incorporate these principles into your study. And okay, so this is kind of like a study habit. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes, and the more natural it becomes, the more the more you improve on your study skills. So the more you start to embody these two principles, right? Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for today's lecture. So once again, I'm Alfred. So for those of you guys who are watching this right here, right now, I just want to say a big thank you for you guys to come here and check this out. It really means a lot to me. And of course, if you missed this and you're watching this at some point later in time, you have my gratitude as well. I still love you guys. So once again, thank you very much for watching this. So if you want to stay connected with me, just like my Facebook page, and I'll see you guys in my next live stream lecture. So have a good evening. Alright, so now to turn off the live stream. There's my mouse and stop streaming.